Round one, you start with a magic ring, and into that magic ring, you're going to make a total of 7 puff stitches. I'm using a yarn called Friends Cotton by Hobbii. It's an 8/4 weight cotton, and I'm doing 4 yarn overs for my puff stitches. So I yarn over and go into the center 4 times, and then I yarn over and pull through all 4, and then I do a chain 1. Next, I move to the next puff stitch and I repeat 4 yarn overs, holding the yarn on my hook until I get all 4, and then I yarn over and pull through all of the loops. Chain 1. That chain 1 is what locks the stitch into place, and I do this a total of 7 times. After I complete all 7 puff stitches, I slip stitch into the very first and then I tie off. This completes round 1. Now I pull the tail of the magic ring to close the circle and make the center smaller. Now we're ready to begin round 2. For round 2, we're using a secondary color. In this case, I'm using a little brighter pink. You begin with a puff stitch followed by another puff stitch into each of the spaces. So you end up with 2 puff stitches in each of the spaces. After you finish the first group of 2, you will then move to the next space where again you will place 2 puff stitches into the space. You'll repeat this process of placing 2 puff stitches into each of the spaces a total of 7 times. So at the end of this round, round 2, you will end up with a total of 14 puff stitches. After you finish your final puff stitch, I use a slip stitch join to the very first puff and then I tie off. This will complete round 2. We are now ready to begin round 3. Round 3 we will tie on with a new color, and again we're going to be working puff stitches into this round. For round 2 you will be working a puff stitch into each of the groups of 2. In between the groups you will actually work a total of 2 puff stitches in between. So in my mind, I immediately thought, oh, I would work 2 puff stitches into the 2 puff stitches of the row below. And it's actually opposite. So you can see here I'm working 1 puff stitch into the grouping of 2. Now I move to the space, and now I'm going to put 2 puff stitches into the space. You will work this all the way around the square. So into the space, 2 puff stitches. Into the V, you'll put 1 puff stitch. For round 3, you will work a total of 21 puff stitches in this round. And once you get to the very last puff stitch, you will then slip stitch to the very beginning puff stitch and tie off. We are now ready to begin round 4. Round 4, I tied on with a different color, and again we're going to be working puff stitches in between the V's and also in between the spaces. For round 4, you will be placing 2 puff stitches in between the V's, and in the spaces, you will be placing 1 puff stitch. So you will alternate this all the way around. You'll end up with 2 puff stitches in the V, and then a single puff stitch, another single puff stitch, and then as you get back to the V, you'll go back to having 2 puff stitches in the V. For round 4, you will end up with a total of 28 puff stitches. After you complete the final puff stitch, I then join with a slip stitch to the very first puff stitch. I snip off, and this completes round 4. We've now completed the round flower, and what we're going to do at this point is we're going to mark our corners so that we can begin to transform this into a square shape. Because we ended with 28 puff stitches, if you divide that by 4, you'll come up with 7 puff stitches for each side. Now some of these will have the 2 together and some of them will be a single, but that does not matter. So all I'm doing is placing a stitch marker and then counting 7, placing another stitch marker. So each side will have 7 puffs. For border row 1, I tie on with a contrasting color and I start into the very first corner. I remove the stitch marker and I place a half double crochet. Then I follow with a double crochet, another double crochet, a treble crochet, chain 1, and then I go in the inverse. So I do a treble crochet, 2 double crochets, and then I do a half double crochet. By creating this combination in the corner, what you're doing is you're adding height to the corner, and that will help to form the square. Once you complete the corner, you move to the first space and you will place 2 half double crochets. And in the next space, you'll place 2 single crochets. And in the next space, you'll place 2 single crochets. Move to the next space, 2 single crochets. Next space, 2 single crochets. And then finally 2 half double crochets. You can see we've made it to our corner stitch marker, so we'll remove the stitch marker, and now we're going to begin the corner stitch. Half double crochet, 2 double crochets, treble crochet, chain 1, and then work in the inverse. Treble crochet, 2 double crochets, half double crochet. This will complete the first side of our square. You can see this is now beginning to transform from a circle shape into a square shape. And we will continue to repeat all of the sides in the same fashion. So the first space will have 2 half double crochets, then the next 4 spaces will have 2 single crochets, and then the 5th space will have 2 half double crochets. So each side you will have a total of 6 spaces. The first space is 2 half doubles, the next 4 spaces are 2 singles in each, and then the final space is 2 half doubles, and then you'll move to the corner. And you'll repeat this on all 4 sides. Once you finish your final half double crochet, you'll join to the first stitch with a slip stitch and then slip stitch your way into the corner. This will complete your border row number 1. We're now ready to move to our second row of the border, and you can see it's taken a really nice square shape. What we need to do is add just kind of a stabilizing row, and what we're going to do is a row of all half double crochets. Your corners will be 2 half double crochets, chain 1, 2 half double crochets, and then into each of the stitches along the side we'll simply place a half double crochet, and this will help give the border some height. It'll also help to stabilize and make the stitches more uniform. I've completed all of the half double crochets along the first side, and now I'm working into the corner. The corners again are 2 half double crochets, chain 1, 2 half double crochets. You can now see the sides are really starting to take shape. Once you've finished all of the half double crochets, you will join with a slip stitch into the first stitch and continue to slip stitch until you get to the corner. This completes border row number 2. We're now ready to start border rows number 3 and 4, which are the same. This is a single crochet row that's worked all the way around the square, with corners being 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet. You'll continue to single crochet into the top of each of the stitches along all of the sides. Once you get to the corner, your corner will be single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Repeat this for all sides. Once you finish your last single crochet, slip stitch join to the top, and you can see we've completed row 3. Now we're ready to begin row 4. Border row 4 is completed in exactly the same fashion as border row 3. Single crochet in the corner, chain 1, single crochet. Begin single crochets along each of the sides until you go around the entire square. We're coming up on a corner here, so again, corner single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and then continue to work single crochets around the entire square. After you complete your final stitch, you will join with a slip stitch to the corner of your square. This completes border row number 4. Thank you so much for watching, and happy crocheting!